Welcome back everybody to another Stu Reacts video. This time we're looking back on a pretty awesome one Westy and I went to a year or so ago. One of those ones where it didn't happen first go. A lot of our snake calls sometimes are like this, when the snakes can be quite painful to catch. But it's an eastern brown snake. We went out a few days before this. Couldn't see it, never saw it. Saw photos of it climbing over a fence, which is pretty impressive. So if people ever tell you that snakes can't climb, they certainly can. But she called us back a couple of days later, lovely lady, and I think she was in Sippy Downs actually. And basically, yeah, you can see the snake is in between the bamboo screening and the main timber fence. And this happens quite often. It's a nice little spot in there where often rodents will run up and down. Snakes will either go in there looking for food or they go in there for shelter like this brown snake. Now this is a pretty warm day, so we were prepared for a pretty hot eastern brown snake, one that was ready to rumble. Now we come up with a plan that we were gonna undo part of the bamboo screening and then sort of open it slightly, and I guess if all went to plan, we'd grab him by the tail and sort of gently pull him out. But yeah, as we all know, watching these videos, snakes have a mind of their own. That's a really, really cool shot there that we got of his eye, just staring back at us. As you can see, he is well aware that we are there, and he probably thinks we're there to eat him. He probably thinks that we're a predator. But as you can see, I pulled that out and he just took off. And we actually lost him here for a bit, and we're concerned that he actually went next door, but we found him again and on with the plan. Now, in this situation, not only are you working with the second most venomous snake in the world, but you're working with an eastern brown snake that's halfway up a fence. So essentially at chest height, or close to chest height when you pull him out. So we've got to be careful when I do finally grab him that I guess he doesn't get whipped back towards my body and gets flung towards me. It's quite a process to work this out because he kept sort of moving along back and forth along the fence. So patience is the key. That's right, yeah. So we end up opening a gap, and then I was basically tickling his tail from the other end and hoping that he'll cross that gap. And then as soon as his head gets a little bit further up the fence behind the bamboo to a safe area, I'd grab him. Wesley's just like, go, 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 go. There we go. So got him by the tail. So this is where I've got to be super careful. I'm just sort of gently poking him because he's got his head just around one of the timber posts. But I've got to be careful I don't pull too hard because he could just slingshot out, and next thing you know, I'm pulling a brown snake into my chest, which is not ideal. I could kind of feel his body loosen a little bit there, but he got really close to my hands there, and Westy was able to pass me the bag, and there we go. Successfully got him in the bag, but that was very sketchy. You can see that they can fling themselves up towards their tail when we're holding it in the blink of an eye. Very impressive snake, and certainly a snake call that I'll never forget. Here we are, team, for another Stu Reacts, looking back at a gigantic common tree snake. Probably, now that I think of it, probably the biggest common tree snake I've ever seen. Often people don't think they grow that big, but I think technically they can get to sort of 1.5, 1.8 meters. This one would have been around the 1.5 mark. Now where we were, I think it was the Coolum area, industrial, as you can see, an industrial site. We were expecting a brown snake, and based on their description, it sounded like one. They basically said 1.5 meters, sort of dark, sort of browny black in color, as thick as a couple of fingers, and yeah, it honestly sounded like a brown snake. At one point, we saw just the top of its head pop out, I think, from underneath this bit of timber, the bottom of the shelving, and all we could see was just a sort of dark colored head, and it actually looked like a red belly or a brown snake from a distance. But then, yeah, we soon realized that it wasn't. But it's incredible, you know, it's not much of a gap under there, and the snake's been able to squeeze under there, and it was another warm day, so it was basking in the sun. And then when the guys saw it, it shot in there undercover, trying to get away from people. And I think this is when I realized what it is. Yeah, so that is a big tree snake, and then it takes off. As you know, like all snakes, just wants to get away. But you can see there, it's about double the thickness of that hose, and that's a pretty standard hose. but look at the size of it and the colors on it. They're one of the most, amazing colored snakes in Australia, and they probably have some of the most color variation as well out of any Australian snake species. So this is a pretty standard color with the yellow and the olivey brown on top, and you can see the kind of lighter flecks. So that's when they feel, I guess, a little bit defensive. They'll expand their body and show those flecks, and I guess that's a way of making them look bigger. It might come across as, that they've got stripes, which to a predator or something else looking on might, I guess, make them seem like they're a bit more dangerous than they actually are. But that is an absolutely stunning snake, and look how big it is. Like, it is a big common tree snake, and like I said, one of the biggest ones I've ever seen or ever caught. They're usually, the ones we catch generally around people's houses on the Sunshine Coast are probably around half that size, and I was pretty stoked to catch that. And one of those situations where the snake may have eventually moved on, but being at a busy construction and industrial area, the snake was essentially either going to get run over by a car potentially, or be pretty lucky to get out of there alive, just because of how busy an area it was, and we just decided to come relocate him and take him to some nice bushland nearby. But just looking over him, as we always do, just to make sure that he's got no battle wounds or anything that needs treatment at a vet or the local wildlife hospital, but he was all good for release, and back in the bush he goes. Hey team, Stu Reacts time. We're looking back at, well, you can say it's unlucky, or depends how you look at it, but this family in Didilbar had 4 eastern brown snakes go through their yard in, I think it was about a week or two. These two that we're going to look at in this video are caught on the same day, and I ended up coming back another couple of times. One we caught under their house, and another, I think it was just cruising through their yard as well. But this is during breeding season. Have a look at this snake. Not only is it sort of 5 foot long or 4.5 foot long, but check out those stripes. So, that, to the average Joe might look like a tiger snake. And that's why it can be so hard to identify snakes sometimes if you're not a snake catcher and if you don't see them every single day. But that was an absolutely beautiful snake. This is in the middle of summer as well, so you can see the snake's very movement orientated, ready to rumble. Got that one in the bag, which was great. Now, like I said, we caught this one first and went and released it straight away, just as we like to do, because once you catch a snake, it can be, I guess, stressful for the animal as well. So that snake at this time was already released. We put the release at the end of the video. This is probably 2 hours later when we came back, and another snake, which just didn't even care that I was there. We think this is probably another male searching for a female that's obviously gone through the property. And you can see this one's even bigger. As soon as I grab it here from memory, it flings straight up and gets quite close to my chest and my fingers as well. So you always got to be on your toes with eastern brown snakes. They're very, very capable snakes. Fantastic at defending himself. You can see there was a little bit of mouth open there for a second. Probably should have kept his head on the ground for a little bit longer, but that's all right. I think I was just stoked to get the snake in the bag. It can be quite a draining day, especially during the middle of breeding season, September, October, November, when we're catching 4 or 5 eastern brown snakes a day from people's homes. And that's a lot of sort of adrenaline pumping through your body, and then sort of coming down from it, and then back at the next job, adrenaline pumping again. So we often get to the end of the day and be absolutely knackered, but that's when the nighttime shift starts. So as we all know, snakes move at nighttime as well. But this is, releasing that first snake. You can see how beautiful those colorations are, the stripes along the back of an eastern brown, and that's the thing you got to remember. They can vary so much in pattern, color, and stripes, and they can retain those stripes, as you can see, until when they're an adult. Whereas you look at this one, and this one's kind of that plain brown, uniform brown color, although there's some light striping there as well, just not quite as much as the other one. So amazing snakes. They demand the ultimate respect, and I absolutely love catching them, as you all know. Hey team, hope you enjoyed the Reacts videos. Back to back Reacts. Everybody loves a bit of that. Now, if you've got any ideas or you want to leave a comment or give us some feedback, put put it below in the comments. We love hearing from our followers. Make sure you also subscribe to the channel. That also helps us build our social platform and keep reaching millions and millions of people every year. Thanks again, everybody.